hear you.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. I'm just streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, all sorted out. I'm going to my event. Well, that's taken a huge amount. Hi, Madam Tosi Joseph. Can you hear me now? Yes, okay. Okay, we're on Vimeo. This is yet another beautiful workshop that ACE Professionals is providing its clients. So today we're talking about effective communication. Let's move straight into it. Agenda. We're going to define what communication is, communication process, active listening, communication styles, communicating with DISC styles. So we will find out what does that stand for. Let's look out for it. Effective communication. Today we minimize this. Yes. We're doing effective communication and specify just go from the PowerPoint because I'm going to be in and out. Here we go. So very first thing I want people to attempt is, what is your definition of intelligence? If you're on Facebook, good afternoon or morning to you. If you're on YouTube, good morning to you. Welcome to ACE Professionals present another workshop to you, effective communication. Now, this effective communication, I'm going to pause. It's already a free course that we give. I'm not going to go over the course. I will play short clips of videos of the course, and I will put points out to you because there's so many parts that this dives into. And today we're going back into the subconscious of it, the before it actually, you can perceive it. The conscious thing is what we see, but what is stopping people? What's the barriers? So let's start first. For the people here, let me ask, Madam Ade, can you please define intelligence? I think we've had this chat this week sometime. Sorry, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, Mr. Fox.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, just can you give us an increment on your volume, please?
Okay, my volume is increased, so I really don't know.
Okay.
It's on the highest level.
Let me increase it from my side. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, what was the question again? So you said something on intelligence.
For you to define intelligence.
For me, intelligence is wisdom coupled with understanding and coupled with smartness. That's intelligence for me.
Awesome. Mr. Daniel, what's intelligence, sir?
Yeah, to me, I think intelligence is the ability to apply knowledge and skills to the activities.
Fabulous. Now that's incredible. Now, when you type the word intelligence, it tells you it comes from a Latin word, intelligentsia. And this intelligentsia is very interesting. Intelligo, if you break the words down, intelligo is understand. It's for you to be able to see between the lines, like seek between. And then lego is to pick out. So what do you pick out from this opportunity? When people speak to you, the ability, the capacity to be able to pick out information and say, this is important. This is what I'm looking out for. That thing is the Lego. Then the intel part in between, that is, of all the information that's presented to you, are you able to spot which one is of most value? So this definition is so powerful. I'll tell you what, early 90s, when I was doing SATs, there was a lecturer that came from the US, and he taught us the importance of understanding the meaning of root words. The root words will give birth to the word. And if you have a different interpretation, because people, confuse and say, there is my truth, there's your truth. But the facts remain the facts. The word comes from somewhere. And where that word comes from, there is a reason why they've arranged it as such. And if you don't understand that root word, you are prone to make a whole lot of mistakes, imagining that you understand it and this is how it means to you. It's not really how it means to you. The fact is, intelligence is the ability and capacity for people to pick between, to seek out between information that's given to them. So do you seek out? Now, if you know that on this particular course, it does have a quiz that talks about what is the statistics of how much people gain from oratory. That is, when people are speaking to you, how much do you take away? How much do you take away? What's the percentage? Do we know? Madam Tola, do you want to have a go?
No, sir, I do not know.
You don't know. Mr. Daniel, do you want to have a go?
I think it's a function of paying 100% attention, because I've got to understand that it's not about what you're trying to communicate, but what your audience gets from what you have said. That's what really matters.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was wondering if you could see my screen. I've just
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a bit blank.
answer. Can you see that? It
Yes,
says
I can see.
more than 70% of what we say is nonverbal. So when people are talking to you, they're only saying 25%. In fact, there's a question that leads on to this. The question goes like this. It says, do you believe that people say everything they want to say every time? Let's have a quick vote. Madam Tola, do you believe that people say what they want to say?
Well, when it comes to that, I think for me, my opinion is subject to temperament. There's some temperaments, like for instance, my friend Tosin says everything she wants to say all the time. She's like she just she just says it, not in a rude way, but she doesn't have the time to go back and think about what she didn't say. So if she's talking with you, she's saying all she wants to say. So I think that there's a temperamental part to that. And I also think that based on people's history, maybe based on the communication, that the way they communicate in their house, especially for children who were not given the opportunity to communicate their feelings or to speak with confidence, they don't always say what they want to say all the time. My little niece, she's brutally honest, and because she's trained to say everything. So I'm learning from her that there are some people, depending on the way they're trained, they say all they want to say. So I think there are so many factors. Sometimes you look at the authority because you and in the front of an authority you can express yourself. Sometimes you think, oh, I know this kind of person this person is. I don't want to say on my mind. This person would take it the other way around. Sometimes it's temperament. The sanguine temperament has a tendency to, say all they want to say. The choleric temperament, the melancholy temperament have a tendency to keep almost half of what they want to say in them. And like I said, also the childhood upbringing to determines. So I think there are a lot of factors in play when it comes to speaking your mind or saying everything you want to say per time.
Then you're going to enjoy the answer soon, shortly. Let's hear from other people. Thank you very much for that contribution, Madam Tola. I appreciate it. Mr. Daniel, what do you think, sir? Do people say what they say all the time?
Yeah, if you ask me, I would say that communication goes beyond what we can hear verbally, because there are a lot of expressions on the face, there are a lot of expressions with the hand, you know, going with the verbal communication. So words alone cannot express what needs to be said. So I think verbal communication cannot capture the whole message trying to pass across. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
I do get what you're trying to say. Thank you very much for that contribution. It's amazing. Thank you as well. Madam Tosin, the question here in the house is, do people say everything they want to say every time?
Okay, sir. No. Are you asking me, should I respond, sir?
Martin, yes, indeed, please.
All right. No, I think body language is part of the way people communicate, apart from speaking out what they want. So most of the time, some people use their body language as a means of communication, sir.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. So I'm going to share my insights on this question from listening to several hours of people who train the FBI, the CIA, in terms of communication. So actually, the answer is yes. But like you said, both Madam Tosi, Mr. Daniel, you're correct. There's more communication happening than the verbal. So at the CIA, when they plug people to a polygraph, the idea is that your body is always maintaining a particular level, a balance, your heart rate, your breathing rate, you're maintaining your blood pressure. Now, they believe that when you have a spike, it's not to say you're lying, but it's to say that there is something that is pulsating in your mind. There is a change in pattern. So when people are asked questions, and you can imagine the CIA and stuff, people who are spy, they're trained to be able to pass the polygraph, to be able to convince people even when they're lying. However, the spikes is subconscious. They can't control all of that. But they'll be giving vibes throughout their body. They'll be sending you signals that there is something that signals a change in pattern. So as far as people are concerned, I think just the way we are connected to our central nervous system, the pathway of thinking, there is no way when we're communicating to someone, even if we're trying not to communicate so much the it takes a lot of effort. That's what they've said, the specialists. They say lying takes a lot of effort. That's why if you watch when lawyers are interviewing defendants and claimants at the court, whenever you get them to say the truth, there is a sense of relief on the person you are interviewing, the lawyer. However, half of the time when they're creating this narrative, when they've convinced themselves that there is, this is the truth and this is what I'm saying is the truth, they are masking it. So you can either see them tapping, or you see them sweating, or you see them shivering, or you see that there is a way that they sit. There will be so many vibes that they'll be giving out that will change. So it could be the number of blinks, how much they blink their eye. Now, this thing I'm talking about is a huge thing in Las Vegas in America. Some people make a lot of millions playing poker. And in poker, if they want to catch you bluffing, they look at the body language. They don't look at what you're saying. They pay attention to how quick you're breathing, how many blinks your eye is. If you're looking away or you're looking down, all of these things, they're reading it. And if they can call your bluff correctly, it could be worth millions. So for them, it's professional. They bring professional people to study you. So people do end up giving up the vibes, even if they don't say it. So communication is far much beyond the verbal. And as we said, intelligence is picking in between, understanding what is of value and what somebody's saying and what they're not saying. So when somebody wants to say something that's the opposite of what they're doing, they will say it to you, but they will still give you the vibes that this is not. And that's why people say, my gut feeling is not feeling this is correct. Something is wrong about this. Now let's go into general workspace or general world issues. Partners, people in a relationship. Partners struggle several times trying to figure out the other partner. They want to understand. But half of the time, the conversation that people are having is not about the subject. So somebody might be complaining and nagging. Oh, you left the TV on, or you left the iron on. That's not the conversation. There might be other conversations. Other conversations might be that you are not providing security. You're not the provider as you meant to. That might be the core conversation. But it is important that somebody uses intelligence to pick which one is the opposite person talking about, the partner talking about. In the world of same sex, I can't say the opposite sex. So, but whatever partner your partner is listening to or talking about, you can always find out. But don't pay attention too much to what they're saying, because that's just oral. Imagine that 75% of it is the iceberg that's under the water that you cannot see, that you cannot get across to. They're incredible examples. I would say, have you been in a situation before that someone has said something to you and convinced you, but they've gone over to do the opposite? Madam Ade, have you been in a situation like that before, where someone is convinced you that this is what they're doing, but they're doing exactly the opposite?
Oh yes, yes. It's yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, in that situation, when you were in that situation, I'm going to ask the rest of the people, just so that they can also have some kind of vision in their mind when we're speaking about this. Mr. Daniel, have you been in a situation where somebody has misled you, given you some information that's not particularly true, but they've made you believe that this is what they're doing? 100%.
I can't recall right now, but I have seen situations like that in the time past. But I can't recall if I've been misled by someone. I can't really recall, but I have seen it just like that in the time past. I've seen it several times.
Okay. How about Madam Tosin?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. We
Okay.
can hear you personally.
All right. I could not see the screen anymore. That's why. So, for me, yes, it has happened once or twice that I can remember, especially during the university days. Yes.
During the university days. Excellent. All right. So the reason I'm saying this to you is we all as human beings, we have a capacity to hang on to a fact and fabricate realities around that fact and tell ourselves that that fact is correct, despite the obvious that that fact is incorrect. And they also have the ability to influence others and sell it to marketing, like people sell wrong products to people because they've created a narrative that this product is the correct product you're looking for. So people tend to buy it. Now, the interesting part of this whole concept where people mislead people is that even though the truth and the fact remains the fact, our brain is a very old machine that solves problems. If your survival at that particular point requires for you to manipulate the truth and tell yourself that the truth is no longer the truth, that your truth is what's going to help you survive. The brain will create opportunities for you to believe that is very, very right. I'll give you a more severe example. If somebody was stuck either in a very trapped place or high ground and there's nobody there, or like there were an earthquake in Turkey, for their survival, some of them, when they brought out the people who survived, they talked about speaking to members of their family that had passed away, that they were talking to their mom. The person said they collected the baby because the baby was not with her mother, but she was talking to the mother. The brain creates a figment of reality that makes it possible for you to survive. Now, it is up to the person who's receiving it to realize, is this a reality I'm creating, or is this the reality that is communal reality that everybody is accepting? That is where the challenge is. So people who lie, they may sometimes convince themselves that their lie also is true. They may also be lying to themselves. They may be well advanced in their lives, but they need to be able to accept reality. I'll give you some simple examples. There are people who I've known that have died from alcohol or smoking, and whenever you told them the reality, the fact, the health dangers, what they said is, I'm not going to be killed by alcohol. I'm going to finish the alcohol. Alcohol can never kill me. They've manipulated this truth for themselves. They've imagined that they are so special, they're so super, that alcohol cannot kill them. Some people were bitten by a snake and they said snake poison can't kill them. Some people died of smoking, got cancer, and they said smoking cannot kill them. It's so many ways where nobody is doing a study into this, but I can say certainly that the brain has the power to manipulate the facts in an attempt for your survival and make it look like it's real. And also, if, for example, you're in a country and it's war-torn, like Sudan, if you have to survive, and whatever you have to survive, you have to tell yourself a lie, that lie will be truthful for you for that time, for that period of time. But where people are sharing a reality, it is important that you bring that person up to speed and let them know that this is a lie and it will not go further. It won't work. So that is some powerful thing. I think justice system will consider whether people who are lying or people who have done things, whether in their mental capacity, whether they were able to discern that this is correct and that is not correct. So coming all the way back to relationships, people who have partners and they're struggling to communicate with their partners, the key thing is they need to get more evidence to prove to their partners that what they're holding, the fact that they're holding on to, is a lie. For anybody to believe a certain philosophy, there's a type of marketing they have to have done to themselves. And they have to admit that this is actually true. So pastors that are lying to their churches, husband lying to their wives, wife lying to their husbands, boyfriend lying to girlfriend, doctors lying to patients, salesperson lying to the customer, all of this, there has to be a sense where the salesperson has to sell it to themselves, that this product I'm selling you is so good, you're going to buy it and you're going to come back and thank me. Because whenever that is not the case, whenever they don't sell it to themselves, they go down the route of a very unhealthy pattern. They know what they're selling to you is a lie. They'll either be smoking a lot, drinking a lot, or doing so many things to try to cover up the truth. They'll be fighting against themselves. But wherever they are not fighting against themselves, they have sold the lie to themselves. This is some powerful truths about effective communication behind the scenes. what stops people? What are the things that causes barrier, that causes friction? So generally, I'll ask another question. I'm just wary about time. Madam Tosi, do you believe in first impressions are very, very powerful? Do you believe you could change somebody's perception from their first impression, or you think what they have on the first impression, they will never get rid of it? What do you think? Madam Tosi, are you there? You're muted. Maybe I should move the question around the house. I'm not sure Madam Tosin is hearing me. Mr. Daniel, what do you think, sir? First impressions, how do you see that?
First impression is it's a great deal when it comes to our society, our community, because it works a lot. You know, the first meeting in the mind of someone can render the person, this person is rubbish with the first meeting. But I think it goes beyond first impression. Personally, I don't work with first impression. I give room for second impression. I give room for third impression. Then after them, I reach my conclusion. So I think first impression really is a great deal. A great deal in our community. But personally, I still go far more than first impression.
Yeah, Tosi, you might have to log off and come back on. Your reception is poor. Yeah. Tosi, you need to log off and come back in. Your voice is broken. It breaks your voice. Your reception is, so we can't hear you clearly. Let me ask Madam Ade. Madam Ade, what do you think? First impression. Thank you very much for that contribution, Mr. Daniel.
Okay, yeah. For me, first impression, like Mr. Daniel said, it's very important in our society. We are driven by that. We are driven by appearance, and yes, we are driven by that, and we take our decision from what we see at first. But just like Mr. Daniel, personally, I don't live in the memory lane, so I try my best to give second, third impression, and yes, I think the highest I can go to is third impression. And so I know that okay, this is not anything. This was not any factor. I could give a chance of okay, maybe the first time something happened. For instance, I'm big on punctuality. So when somebody comes late to something, I could, oh, okay, this person probably had a child issue, something happened. The second time, again, third time again, then after a while, I just feel like, okay, this is you. But the culture to invite is that wherever we go, we should try to make good first impression because not everybody thinks the way you think. Not everybody gives second chances. So always put on your best for the first time. So that's my
Yeah,
theory on that.
that's absolutely brilliant. You said so many golden nuggets there. Not everybody thinks the way you think. Do you think most people, when they speak, they imagine that everybody's thinking the way they think, and they imagine that everybody's understanding them the way they understand themselves, and it causes problems because not everybody understands them. I'm just trying to let Tosin in. Okay. Let me tell you the difference about environment. Now, in this environment, first impression matter. In the UK, it's a big, big deal. It's a big deal. It takes, because they don't have a benchmark to measure you against. first impression becomes the benchmark. So I'll give you an example. Where we come from culturally, people can say A and come back tomorrow and say B is what they actually wanted to say. But over here, if you say A, either it's on a form, on a document, on anything, and you come back and say B, they believe that you don't have integrity. They believe your integrity is very, very wavy. It's their culture. It's a cultural thing. Madam Tola, what you said is also the one part that is so powerful that you said is you give people chances. You're more scientific about your approach. You don't want to say that something is accidental about a person. You want to give them a couple of opportunities so you can draw an inference, which is fantastic because most practical examples of anything in science is something that is repeatable, measured, and it's something that they're now picking an average score. So that is a very, very sensible way. Unfortunately, the majority of the world are not in the same boat as Madam Tola. Madam Tola is totally very, very advanced in how she does that. But most people are very, very superficial. If you look at the Facebook, you look at the social media world, everything is very superficial. So it's all based on first impression. That's why you notice people on their YouTube, they might be selling a toilet product. But even at selling that toilet product, they make sure their hair's shiny, they make sure their nails are done, they make sure they're looking so dashing. And you start imagining, are they selling makeup? Am I confused? Is this person trying to tell me they're pretty? You almost forget about the product you're meant to look out for because they are so aware that in their social media world, people are judging by first impression. You know, it's a very, very powerful thing that you said. I'm not sure. Madam Tosin, do you want to say anything about first impressions? Is internet back? Madam Tosin, are you there? I'm not sure she's there. Okay. My final question before I talk about the most powerful things in effective communication. My final question is this. I have a critical thinking question. At Ace Professional, we develop people into soft skills thinking, soft skills development, hard skills development, and we believe in things such as psychometric tests because it gives you an evaluation of yourself independent of what other people feel. So today's one is a critical thinking question, and I'll pose that out. The question reads, should companies downsize their workforces to decrease expenses and maximize profit? Argument number one. The argument reads, yes, downsizing will protect the company from bankruptcy in hard economic times. Madam Ade, is this a strong argument or a weak argument? I'm going to start the question again and then read the argument that I want you to judge either as strong or weak. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing critical thinking. We're doing effective communication. We're on an advanced level. So join us, please. So indulge with us. Should companies downsize their workforce to decrease expenses and maximize profits? Madam Ade, are you with me, please?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to read the argument. You've got the opening statement. Should companies downsize their workforce and decrease expenses, maximize profit? That's the opening statement. Now, the argument goes this way. It says, yes, downsizing will protect the company from bankruptcy in hard economic times. Now, how do you see that? Is that a weak argument? Is that a strong argument?
Okay, when it comes to, strong argument, weak argument, let me answer that first. I wish there's an in between, maybe not very strong argument, because for me, strong and weak seems like extreme to extreme. So if there was a middle line, why I would pick a middle line between the strong and weak? Is because there are many factors that leads to a company not making profits other than downsizing their employees. So yes, you could try that just to make sure that you're staying afloat. But it's not it's there are other factors to look at. You can't just be downsizing. You need to look at other company structure that your company has, that you can develop on. Sometimes it's companies, the company's culture. Sometimes it's the attitude of the employees. Sometimes it's even the attitude of the leaders. Sometimes you need to fire the employers themselves on the board of directors. So for me, there are a lot of factors involved. So I'll just go with the middle. It's not really a weak argument, and it's not really a strong argument if you ask me.
Okay. Mr. Daniel, do you want to have a go, sir?
Yes, sir. My standpoint in this argument is when you ask the question, I remember something that I taught my students when I was in the teaching line. I talked about there's a particular class of trees in the forest. During the dry season, they tend to shed all their leaves just to retain survival. They shed all their leaves, and during rainy season, they bring up all the leaves back again, and the trees green. I think it's a wonderful strategy for survival. And companies have adopted this method to retain the survival in the company. I think I go with it, even though it's looking from the perspective of humanity, it doesn't look good, but company has to go on. I think it's a good method.
Do you think it's a weak argument or a strong argument? Where do you lie?
From business perspective, it's a strong argument.
Strong argument. Okay. Madam Tosin, again, I'm projecting the question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the question goes, should companies downsize their workforce to decrease expenses and maximize profit? The first argument goes, yes, downsizing will protect the company from bankruptcy in hard economic times. Where do you stand? Do you think downsizing will protect the company from bankruptcy in hard economic times? Is this for you a strong argument or a weak argument?
I think it's a weak argument.
Okay.
Because especially except if they're talking about downsizing in terms of the people that are not relevant, or there are people that can actually take up their jobs. Because if these are professionals and people that would actually see that this company actually rises from that stage of maybe difficulty into the next level, and they're what's it called, and they're laying them off, it might mean that the company is still going to die at the end of the day. So it has to be that if you're downsizing, you're just downsizing the extras, the people that are not necessarily important, people that are not benefiting. So if that is put in that argument, yes, I'll look at it and say, yes, that's a strong argument. But if it's just that you're downsizing, it might actually put that company in even more trouble than it already is in.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and give you the answer. So welcome to Critical Thinking. This is an example of some of the courses that ACE Professional does deliver. So Madam Tola said it's a strong argument. Did she say, or she says she's in between?
No, I'm in between, yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Daniel said it's a strong argument. Martha says a weak argument. So the correct answer is, drum roll. Correct answer is weak argument. Yes. Explanation. The explanation is different from what Madam Tosin gave, but listen to this. It says accepting the argument as true. Avoiding bankruptcy is an essential motive for an organization. However, the statement does not discuss bankruptcy. Rather, it's discussing profits and expenses.
Okay.
You see, it's our brain that is making it real for us, that we think that the statement actually talks about bankruptcy. The statement was, should companies downsize to reduce expenses, which is cost, and maximize profits? It didn't say nothing about bankruptcy. That's the statement. Now, the argument, which could be somebody's opinion, was, downsizing will protect the company from bankruptcy in difficult times. Now, but the statement did not say anything about bankruptcy. It only said profits, reducing cost. So we made that inference. It was us who put our minds together and say, well, let's connect the dots. That's what our brain does. Protection against bankruptcy is not the topic. It is straying from the point. It's therefore a weak argument. I told you, Madam Tola, I said you would enjoy this. This is critical thinking for you. There's so much more. There's different types of tests to measure where you lie, whether you are an empathetic person, whether you are an agreeable person, whether you are fit for leadership, or whether you need some skills. So the big summary of all of the course that we've done. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Talking about critical thinking and communication.
Yes, sir.
To communicate well,
Mm.
you have to consider those that have low critical thinking level, and those that have it very, very high, in order to drive home our point. Do you understand? So, so in communication, you don't fault people thinking the way they have done, and you have to blame yourself for not communicating very well to their own understanding, going down to their level.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Okay, Mr. Daniel is speaking.
Yeah, I'm done.
Go ahead.
No, I think Mr. Daniel is speaking.
Yeah, it's fine. He's made his point.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was going to mention that, Mr. Daniel, thanks for that wonderful contribution. It makes more sense to me because when we're in law school, they taught us a lot of legal jargons, and we have the tendency to write when we're writing to petition or writing to do anything, we include these legal terms. So there was a day I was in court, and I was to examine my witness, and this witness is a layman, and I kept on using, do you recognize the defendant? Do you recognize the defendant? This is a woman who probably didn't go beyond Form 5. And she kept looking at me like, who is the defendant? And all of that.
Yeah.
And the judge was like, can you communicate to your witness properly, counsel? And in my own world, defendant is the most ordinary term anyone should know.
Yes.
But I should have taken into factor that I'm speaking to a woman who does not have, she didn't go to law school, number one, and even if she's not exposed, she's not exposed to the legal terminologies, and even the defendant seems to be like an ordinary word for her to understand. I should have come down to her level. So when she didn't understand the word defendant, the judge did not blame her. The judge looked at me and said, can you communicate properly? Even though both I and the judge know that I'm using the most ordinary term in law, but she said I am not communicating to my witness. So while I can have so much depth of thinking, I think one of the first rule in communication is to know your audience. When you go to SS3 students and you start talking to them as if you're talking to Mr. Stokes, you've not communicated, no matter how good your English is and no matter how sound you are. So it's a contribution that I really, really, really love when it comes to communication. So thank you once again, Mr. Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, though, I beg to differ in the sense that is why we are in this class. I think that is why we are. The reason why we are here is so that we can know how to communicate, whether with somebody with a high IQ, low IQ, middle IQ. Because when you are in this kind of class, automatically that kind of knowledge comes to you. It just comes to you automatically. it's because most people are not even in this class, and that's the reason why they can actually go to court. Sorry, I'm using your example, Tola, and say, do you understand? Can you recognize your defendant? If you've been in a class of, can everybody hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Very
if
sound.
you've been in a class whereby they've actually trained on effective communication, you will not go to the court and see a layman and ask that you recognize your defendant. You would rather immediately use another word. So I think this class is supposed to be like an awareness. And so that is why sometimes you have to have this kind of tests, because it brings you to another frequency that automatically makes you know when to go high, to go low, or to stay in the middle. It just gives you that recognition. It's just what it is. It just happens automatically. So that's my own suggestion. That's my own contribution.
I think you got the whole reason why Mr. Daniel contributed. It's not like I think Mr. Daniel, I don't know, Mr. Daniel, you can correct me. I think the critical thinking person, Mr. Daniel wasn't negating Mr.
No, I didn't think he was negating. He was just saying that for someone who has low IQ, you can't do. I said that's like, and that's the reason why I'm saying that is
because you said you beg to differ. That's why we are wondering where you differ.
Okay, now I've used the wrong word. I'm sorry.
Correct. I understand all of you. Let me, if I may summarize, if you guys would allow me to summarize. Yeah. Now, when I'm listening to Mr. Daniel, what he said is right in terms of communication. But you can't say in this our own the UK, what they've done is they say negligence is no excuse for the courts here do not accept that because you don't know, it means that they would let you go. No, they say that it's your due diligence that you are meant to know. So that's one of the foundations, the tenets of the law here. And they've provided provisions for people who have not gone to school to get a lawyer to support them. But again, at the same time, they don't want, if you give room, you've got to be very careful. The kind of worms you open once you give room to negligence, it becomes very difficult. You cannot walk that path back. Once people start saying, but I didn't know, but it's not me, but I'm not aware. So in communication, yes, the person who wants to effectively communicate, their responsibility is on their shoulder to make sure that their audience is able to understand the terminology. That's why you see that the basic thing I started with was definition of intelligence. And I kept a scope of it. I didn't take intelligence into emotional intelligence. I kept it within a short scope. All of that is important. It's a skill. You first set the parameters. You talk about what you're going to talk about, and then you go and give different examples to emphasize your point, and you allow people to filter into the point and you let them see, because everything, the point of communication is transformation. If I cannot communicate for you to understand, you cannot transform, or the job of my communication is ineffective. It's not going to work. So the whole point of sales, marketing, TV, everything we're doing is to communicate. Whether we like it or not, everything we watch, social media, everything is selling something to us. They are sending you a message. They're trying to transform you. Your philosophy is on a constant frequency of change. So you saying that you're negligent or maybe you're not getting it, you can imagine that Coca-Cola or all the biggest companies in the world, when they say just do it, they can't break down just do it to the layman, but they're imagining that you should be able to understand that motto. And they'll put videos, they'll put lots of things to support to make the communication robust for you. Now, they still have a windfall. They still have a group of people that they know that are not able to tap into that information that they're given. But it is their job to proactively engage with people, to communicate. You know, when Apple chooses their logo and it's just a small symbol with an apple with a bite to the top, the whole thing is for, what do you call it? For people to understand that this is Apple. Now, what does it stand for? It stands for products. Now, the key things about Apple is they want you to identify with the logo because they're doing products. Somebody else who deals with services will want you to identify with the motto. Like us at ACE, we say, be better. So you're constantly growing, whether you like it or not. The journey of life is not about the destination, because everybody's going to come to the end of it. It is about the journey. And the journey is where the magnanimous things happen. And in this magnanimous thing, you want to be on a boat where you're growing, where your skills are developing, where you're picking up the right skills and tools, because all these right skills and tools will change your life, will change your proposal, will change your interviews, will change your offers, will change people in your circle. If you're in the wrong circle, you won't go far. But you want to be in the right circle, and you want to have the right skills and tools to get what you're looking for, to change the pathway of your journey. That's what everybody's about. So effective communication is big. It's bigger than it looks. But the key thing is we're just showing you examples of things that people misconceive. Like this particular critical thinking exercise, it should just be stuck on what the benefits, the scope is, what the sentence is. It's not beyond that scope. It's not outside it. It is simply where it is. So that's where we are with the information that is being delivered. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've had another fantastic session with us at ACE. We thank you very much for hanging out with us and spending time with us on effective communication. There's so many questions. You can see that this is on critical thinking. Where this came from, there is a lot more. It's been my very good pleasure to present this session to you. I've had a great time. Let me get back on Zoom and focus myself. Let's see, can I pin this video? Sure we can. Let's stop the screen share and bring people to a conclusion. Where's screen share? Okay. Oh, people can see me. Excellent. So, well, bringing people to a conclusion here. We want to thank you for staying with us today, spending time with us on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook. Effective communication is a free course that ACE Professional has. You can just request for the link and get through to the effective communication. Now, mind you, it's the beginning of a journey. You will find that there's effective team management, there's effective leadership. There's so many other courses. We're robust. When we do things, we've been teaching for decades. So we research. We go with what Cambridge is saying, what Oxford is saying, what all the other people are saying, what's Forbes saying, what's Time saying. So we take all this information, we look at popularity, famous, and we look at the facts and the statistics, and we combine all of this to bring you the information in very digestible manner. And that skill is why there is a need for us, is why we can help people in the gap. If you look at people delivering different contracts, courses, projects, there's a missing gap of people passing on the skills, missing opportunity of people learning templates. That's why Africa remains where it is. We're yet to develop and we're yet to gain the skills and the tools that we need. So every time we have a project, we need extra help from other continents and other parts of the world. We need to take ownership and start improving ourselves and start developing ourselves and start changing the landscape. What baton we pass on to the next generation is our fault, is our responsibility. We need to choose to pass effective communication to them. We need to make sure that the minimum for them is big, is bigger than where we started. That onus is on us. We own that responsibility and we got to deliver it. Thank you for spending time with me. I look forward to you coming to more of our programs. We do every Wednesday, we're doing educational opportunities on IT and on teachers for educators. So we talk about how do you get through to get in jobs over here in the UK? How do you get international jobs? We lay these things out. Again, we're very systematic and we're very clear. So clarity is one of the key things that we follow. So we say to you, be better in whatever you do. We wish you a wonderful weekend. Madam Tosin, any sign off from you? Mr. Daniel, any sign off from you?
Thank you very much for this. It's a really great privilege to have actually been in this place today. Really, I learned so much. Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I've learned a lot in today's training, and I will subscribe for the advanced level of this because I can see myself in top managerial posts, leading people, and I need these skills more than anything. I need these skills. So thank you. You've uh, you've uh, you've killed it, and glad to be part of this today. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. For people that we can't speak to, you can reach us out on our email address, which is info@aceprofessional.org. And if you want to call us, we have our mobile number, which was at the start. Let me go and show you what our mobile number is 0208. Let's get it. I believe it's 0044. Where is it? It's loading. And it's 9336. Now, we have it. There you go. 0208-004, and then it's 9336. That's our number in the UK. You can call us, or you can go to our website, and also you can contact us by the contact us page over there. Also, you can go for the courses, or you could buy courses that you feel will give you more benefits. Remember, we subsidize all these things because it's a mission for us. We think that this is more important. These things are the courses that you get in Harvard, you get in Cambridge, and they're in thousands and thousands. And people go off to go and become the boss of UNICEF, the boss of WHO. Now, if you want to be equipped when it comes to skills in thinking department, in emotional management department, in getting your soft skills all aligned, you come to ACE Professionals, and we've got you. We've got your back. So take care. Have a lovely weekend. The pleasure is ours. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.
Bye-bye.